Part 3, Facts. Section D. Expressions of genocidal intent against the Palestinian people by the Israeli state officials and others. Evidence of Israel's state officials' specific intent, dolus specialis, to commit and persist in committing genocidal acts or to fail to prevent them has been significant and overt since October 2023. Those statements of intent, when combined with the level of killing, maiming, displacement, and destruction on the ground, together with the siege, evidence an unfolding and continuing genocide. They include statements by the following individuals in the positions of the highest responsibility: Prime Minister of Israel on 7th October 2023, in a televised address by the government press office, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised to operate forcefully everywhere. On 13th October 2023, he confirmed that we are striking our enemies with unprecedented might. On 15th October 2023, when Israeli airstrikes had already killed over 2,670 Palestinians, including 724 children, the Prime Minister stated that Israeli soldiers understand the scope of the mission and stand ready to defeat the bloodthirsty monsters who have risen against Israel to destroy us. On 16th October 2023, in a formal address to Israeli Knesset, he described the situation as a struggle between the children of light and the children of darkness, between humanity and the law of the jungle. A dehumanizing theme to which he returned on various occasions, including on 3rd November 2023, in a letter to Israeli soldiers and officers, also published on the platform X, formerly Twitter. The letter asserted that this is the war between sons of light and sons of darkness. We will not let up on our mission until light overcomes the darkness. The good will defeat the extreme evil that threatens us and the entire world. The Israeli Prime Minister also returned to the theme in his Christmas message, stating, "We are facing monsters who murder children in front of their parents. This is a battle not only of Israel against barbarians, It's a battle of civilization against barbarism. On 28th October 2023, and as Israeli forces prepared the land invasion of Gaza, the Prime Minister invoked the biblical story of the total destruction of Amalek by Israelites, stating, "You must remember what the Amalek has done to you," says our Holy Bible. And we do remember. The Prime Minister referred again to Amalek in the letter sent on 3rd November 2023 to Israeli soldiers and officers. The relevant biblical passages reads as follows. Now, go, attack Amalek, and proscribe all that belongs to him. Spare no one, but kill alike men and women, infants and sucklings, oxen and sheep, camels and asses. End quote. President of Israel on 12th October 2023. President Isaac Herzog made clear that Israel was not distinguishing between militants and civilians in Gaza, stating in a press conference to foreign media, in relation, Palestinians in Gaza, over 1 million of whom who are children, it's an entire nation out there that's responsible. It is not this rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved. It's absolutely not true. We will fight and we will break their backbone. On 15th October 2023, echoing the words of Prime Minister Netanyahu, the President told foreign media that we will uproot evil so there will be good for the entire region and the world. The Israeli President is one of the many Israelis to have handwritten messages on bombs to be dropped on Gaza. Israeli Minister of Defense on 9th October 2023. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, in an Israeli army situation update, advised Israel was imposing a complete siege on Gaza, no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel, everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly. He also informed troops on Gaza border that he had released all the restraints, stating in terms that Gaza won't return to what it was before. We will eliminate everything. If it doesn't take one day, it will take a week. It will take weeks or even months. We will reach all places. He further announced that Israel was moving to a full-scale response and that he had removed every restriction on Israeli forces. Israeli Minister for National Security on 10th November 2023 Itamar Ben-Gvir clarified the government's position in a televised address stating, "To be clear, when we say that Hamas should be destroyed, it also means those who celebrate, those who support, those who hand out candy, they're all terrorists and they should be destroyed." Israeli Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, tweeting on 13th October 2023, Israel Katz stated, "All the civilian population in Gaza is ordered to leave immediately. We will win. They will not receive a drop of water or a single battery until they leave the world." On 12th October 2023, he tweeted, "Humanitarian aid to Gaza, no electrical switch will be turned on, no water hydrant will be opened, and no fuel truck will enter until the Israeli abductees are returned home. Humanitarianism for humanitarianism, and no one will preach us morality." Israeli Minister of Finance on 8th October 2023, Bezalel Smotrich, stated at a meeting of the Israeli cabinet that we need to deal a blow that hasn't been seen in 50 years and take down Gaza. Israeli Minister of Heritage on 1st November 2023, Amichai Eliyahu posted on Facebook, "The north of Gaza Strip, more beautiful than ever. Everything is blown up and flattened, simply a pleasure for the eyes. We must talk about the day after. In my mind, we will hand over lots to all those who fought for Gaza over the years and to those evicted from Gush Katif, a former Israeli settlement." He later argued against humanitarian aid as, "We wouldn't hand the Nazis humanitarian aid. There is no such thing, an uninvolved civilian in Gaza." He also posited a nuclear attack in the Gaza Strip. Israeli Minister of Agriculture on 11th November 2023, Avi Dichter, in a television interview, recalled the Nakba of 1948, in which over 80% of the Palestinian population of the new Israeli state was forced from or fled their homes, stating that we are now actually rolling out the Gaza Nakba. Deputy Speaker of the Knesset and member of the Foreign Affairs and Security Committee on 7th October 2023, Nissim Waturi tweeted that, "Now we all have one common goal: erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. Those who are unable will be replaced." Similar statements have been made by Israeli army officials, advisors, spokespersons, and others engaging with Israeli troops being deployed in Gaza. Israeli Army Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories, COGAT, on 9th October 2023, in a video statement addressed to Hamas and Gaza residents, published by COGAT's official channel, Major General Ghassan Alian warned Hamas became ISIS, and the citizens of Gaza are celebrating instead of being horrified. Human animals are dealt with accordingly. Israel has imposed a total blockade on Gaza. No electricity, no water, just damage. You want hell? You will get hell. Israeli Army Reservist Major General, former head of Israeli National Security Council, an advisor to the Defense Minister, on 7th October 2023, Giora Eiland, describing the Israeli order to cut off water and electricity in Gaza, wrote in an online journal, "This is what Israel has begun to do. We cut the supply of energy, water and diesel to the strip, but that's not enough. In order to make the siege effective, we have to prevent others from giving assistance to Gaza. The people should be told they have two choices: to stay and starve or to leave. If Egypt and other countries prefer that these people will perish in Gaza, that is their choice." On the same day, he asserted in a national newspaper, that when you are at war with another country, you don't feed them, you don't provide them electricity or gas or water or anything else. A country can be attacked in a much broader way to bring the country to the brink of dysfunction. This is the necessary outcome of events in Gaza. He has repeatedly asserted the benefits for Israel of the creation of a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, stating that Israel has no interest in the Gaza Strip being rehabilitated. And this is an important point that needs to be made clear to Americans, that if we ever want to see hostages alive, the only way is to create a severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza. He has indicated that water should be targeted, noting that water in Gaza comes from wells with salt water unfit for consumption. They have water treatment plants. Israel should hit those plants. When the entire world says we have gone insane, this is a humanitarian disaster, we will say it's not an end, it's a means. In a Times radio interview on 12th October 2023, he reiterated the army should create such a huge pressure on Gaza that Gaza will become an area where people cannot live. People cannot live until Hamas is destroyed, which means that Israel not only stops to supply energy, diesel, water, food, as we did in the last 20 years, but we should prevent any possible assistance by others and to create in Gaza such a terrible, unbearable situation that can last weeks and months. End quote. Giora Eiland has repeatedly been given a platform to call for Gaza to be made uninhabitable, declaring Geura Island has repeatedly been given a platform to call for Gaza to be made uninhabitable, declaring the state of Israel has no choice but to make Gaza a place that is temporarily or permanently impossible to live in. In an interview on 16th November 2023, he suggested that if there is an intention for military action at Al-Shifa Hospital, which I think is inescapable, I hope the head of the CIA got an explanation of why this is necessary and why the US must ultimately back even an operation like this, even if there are thousands of bodies of civilians in the streets afterwards. Furthermore, he proposed that Israel needs to create a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, compelling tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands to seek refuge in Egypt or the Gulf. Gaza will become a place where no human being can exist. Echoing the words of the President Herzog, he has repeatedly underscored that there should be no distinction between Hamas combatants and Palestinian civilians, saying, "Who are the poor women of Gaza? They are all mothers and sisters and wives of Hamas murderers. On the one hand, they are part of the infrastructure that supports the organization, and on the other, if they experience a humanitarian disaster, then it can be assumed that some of Hamas's fighters and more junior commanders will begin to understand that war is futile. The international community warns us of a humanitarian disaster in Gaza and of severe epidemics. We must not shy away from this, a difficulty as that may be. After all, severe epidemics in the south of Gaza Strip will bring victory closer. It is precisely its civil collapse that will bring the end of the war closer." When senior Israeli figures say in the media, "It's either us or them," we should clarify the question of who is them. They are not only Hamas fighters with weapons, but also all the civilian officials, including hospital administrators and school administrators, and also entire Gaza population who enthusiastically supported Hamas and cheered on its atrocities on October 7th. End quote. Israeli Army reservist motivational speech. On 11th October 2023, a 95-year-old Israeli Army reservist, Erza Yachin, a veteran of Deir Yassin massacre of the 1948 Nakba, reportedly called up for reserve duty to boost morale amongst Israeli troops ahead of the ground invasion, was broadcast on social media, inciting other soldiers to genocide as follows, while being driven around in an Israeli army vehicle dressed in Israeli army fatigues. Quote, "Be triumphant and finish them off. Don't let anyone behind. Erase the memory of them. Erase them, their families, mothers, and children. These animals can no longer live. Every Jew with a weapon should go out and kill them. If you have an Arab neighbor, don't wait. Go to his home and shoot him. We want to invade not like before. We want to enter and destroy what's in front of us, and destroy houses, then destroy the one after it with all our forces, complete destruction, enter and destroy. As you can see, we will witness things we have never dreamt of. Let them drop bombs on them and erase them. End quote. Head of Israel's Army's Air Operation Group on 28th October 2023, Lieutenant Colonel Gilad Kinan described the Air Force as working together with all the bodies in IDF when the goal is clear: to destroy everything that has been touched by the hand of Hamas. Commander in the 2908th Battalion of the Israeli Army, in a video posted online on 21st December 2023, Yair Ben David said that Israeli army had entered Beit Hanun and did there as Shimon and Levi did in Nablus. And that the entire Gaza should resemble Beit Hanun, referring to the city in northern Gaza, which had been entirely devastated by the Israeli army. The biblical passage in issue reads, "On the third day, when they were in pain, Simeon and Levi, two of Jacob's sons, brother of Dinah, took each his sword, came upon the city unmolested, and slew all the males." End quote. (103) The above statements by Israeli decision makers and military officials indicate in and of themselves a clear intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as a group as such. They also constitute clear, direct and public incitement to genocide, which has gone unchecked and unpunished. The clear inference from the acts of Israeli army on ground, including from vast numbers of civilians killed and injured, and the scale of displacement, destruction and devastation wrought in Gaza, is that those genocidal statements and directives are being implemented against the Palestinian people. That is also the clear and necessary inference to be drawn from the emerging evidence from Israeli army soldiers serving in Gaza, including those stationed on the ground. Israeli Army Colonel, Deputy Head of COGAT, speaking in a video filmed in Beit Lahia, one of the areas of Gaza which appears to have suffered particularly severe levels of destruction, and broadcast on Israeli television on 4th November 2023, Colonel Yogev Barsheshet stated, "Whoever returns here, if they return here after, will find scorched earth, no houses, no agriculture, no nothing. They have no future." Another army colonel recorded in the same video, Colonel Erez Eshel, Reserve, also commented that vengeance is a great value there is vengeance over what they did to us, this place will be fallow land. They will not be able to live here. End quote. Israeli army soldiers. Israeli soldiers in uniforms have been filmed on 5th December 2023 dancing, chanting and singing, "May their village burn, may Gaza be erased." And 2 days later, on a separate occasion inside Gaza, on 7th December 2023, dancing and singing and chanting, "We know our motto. There are no uninvolved civilians, and to wipe out the seed of Amalek." End quote. (104) Notably, there's a second video of soldiers chanting that there are no uninvolved citizens in Gaza and they will wipe off the seed of Amalek, was filmed on 7 December 2023. By that date, 17,177 Palestinians in Gaza had been killed, an estimated 70% of whom were women and children. 7 to 8 December 2023 was particularly devastating for Palestinians, with 350 people killed in the space of 24 hours. Approximately one Palestinian in Gaza killed every 4 minutes. (105) This genocidal rhetoric of governmental and military officials is also widespread and commonplace amongst non-cabinet members of the Israeli Knesset, MKs, who have repeatedly called for Gaza to be wiped out, flattened, erased, crushed on all its inhabitants. Parliamentarians have publicly deplored anyone feeling sorry for the uninvolved Gazans, asserting repeatedly that there are no uninvolved, that there are no innocents in Gaza, that the killers of women and children should not be separated from the citizens of Gaza, that the children of Gaza have brought this upon themselves, that there should be one sentence for everyone, death. Parliamentarians have stated we must not forget that even the most innocent citizen, the cruel and monstrous people from Gaza took an active part. There is no place for any humanitarian gesture. The memory of Amalek must be protested. Rape must be protested. And that without hunger and thirst among Gaza population, we will not be able to recruit collaborators. Parliamentarians have also called for mercilessly bombing from the air, calling for the use of nuclear doomsday weapons and a Nakba that will overshadow the Nakba of 48. End quote. Similar genocidal rhetoric is also commonplace in Israeli civil society, with genocidal messages being routinely broadcast without censure or sanction in Israeli media. The media reports call for Gaza to be erased, turned into a slaughterhouse, that Hamas should not be eliminated, but rather Gaza should be razed, on a repeated claim there are no innocents, there is no population, there are 2.5 million terrorists. One local official reportedly called for Gaza to be desolate and destroyed like a Auschwitz museum, demonstrating the madness of the people who live there. Former MKs have called for a level of destruction akin to that of Dresden and Hiroshima, asserting that it would be immoral for the Israeli army not to show themselves to be vengeful and cruel. In an Israeli news interview, one former MK called for all Palestinians in Gaza to be killed, saying, quote, "I tell you, in Gaza, without exceptions, they are all terrorists, sons of dogs. They must be exterminated, all of them killed. We will flatten Gaza and turn them into dust, and the army will cleanse the area. Then we will start building new areas for us, above all for our security." End quote. 107. Those statements by prominent members of Israeli society, including former parliamentarians and news anchors, constitute clear, direct, and public incitement to genocide, which has gone unchecked and unpunished by Israeli authorities. That such sentiment appears to be so widespread and mainstream in Israeli society is of particular concern in circumstances where the soldiers serving in Gaza are largely reservists drawn from an informed civil society. Section E. Recognition of Israel's genocidal intent against Palestinians. 108. As set out above, numerous states have rightfully recognized Israel's statements in relation to Gaza as demonstrating genocidal intent. That assessment is shared by a significant number of United Nations experts who have repeatedly warned since at least mid-October 2023 that the Palestinian people are at grave risk of genocide by Israel. By way of example, on 19th October 2023, 9 United Nations Special Rapporteurs sounded the alarm, warning that there is an ongoing campaign by Israel resulting in crimes against humanity in Gaza, considering the statements made by Israeli political leaders and their allies, accompanied by military actions in Gaza and the escalation of arrests and killing in West Bank. There is also a risk of genocide against Palestinian people. On 27th October 2023, the United Nations Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination underscored that it was highly concerned about the sharp increase in racist hate speech and dehumanization directed at Palestinians since 7th October, particularly on the internet, in the social media, including by senior officials, politicians, members of the parliament, public figures, particularly the statement of the 9th October made by Israeli Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant, in which he referred to Palestinians as human animals, language which could incite genocidal action. On 28th October 2023, the director of the New York office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, OHCHR, stepped down after penning a widely reported resignation statement describing the situation as textbook case of genocide. On 2nd November 2023, 8 special rapporteurs warned that they remain convinced that Palestinian people are at a grave risk of genocide. The experts stated that the time for action is now, underscoring the Israeli allies also bears responsibility and we must act now to prevent the disastrous course of action. On 16th November 2023, 15 United Nations Special Rapporteurs and 21 members of United Nations Working Group cautioned the grave violations committed by Israel against Palestinians in the aftermath of 7th October, particularly in Gaza, point to a genocide in the making. The statement highlights evidence of increasing genocidal incitement, overt intent to destroy the Palestinian people under occupation, loud calls for a second Nakba in Gaza and the rest of occupied Palestinian territories, and the use of powerful weaponry with inherently indiscriminate impacts, resulting in a colossal death toll and destruction of life-sustaining infrastructure. The experts expressed profound concern about the failure of the international system to mobilize to prevent genocide, cautioning that the failure to urgently implement a ceasefire risks this situation spiraling towards a genocide conducted with 21st century means and methods of warfare. They called on the international community, including not only states but also non-state actors, to do everything it can to immediately end the risk of genocide against the Palestinian people. On 20th November 2023, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls and Its Causes and Consequences issued a statement warning that since 7th October, the assault on Palestinian women's dignity and rights have taken on new and terrifying dimensions as thousands have become victims of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and unfolding genocide. The Special Rapporteur expressed alarm at the genocidal and dehumanizing rhetoric about the Palestinian people, including women and children, by the top Israeli government officials and public officials, calling them children of darkness. The Special Rapporteur referred to the description of Palestinians as human animals and the calls for a second Nakba by Israeli officials, cautioning that such statements make the Israeli government's intention to destroy the Palestinian people in whole or in part or absolutely and consistently clear. On 8 December 2023, ahead of the United Nations Security Council ceasefire resolution vote vetoed by the United States of America, 22 United Nations Special Rapporteurs and 28 members of United Nations Working Group reiterated their previous statement warning against the commission of genocide. On 21st December 2023, the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, acting under its early warning and urgent action procedures, reiterating its earlier statements and warnings of hate speech and dehumanizing discourse targeted at Palestinians, raising severe concerns regarding Israel and other state parties' obligation to prevent genocide. The committee called on all states parties to fully respect their international obligations in particular those arising from the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, and to cooperate to bring an end to the violations that are taking place and to prevent genocide. The committee made detailed references to the ongoing situation in Gaza, stating inter alia that it was gravely concerned about the racist hate speech, incitement to violence, and genocidal action, as well as dehumanizing rhetoric targeted at Palestinians since 7th October 2023 by Israeli senior government officials, members of parliament, politicians, and public figures. End quote. (109) The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has repeatedly condemned Israel's military action in Gaza as genocide, as has Arab Group at the United Nations. The International Federation for Human Rights have called for an end to the genocide, with the International Commission of Jurists calling on the third states to take all reasonable measures within their power to prevent genocide in Gaza. Palestinian non-governmental organizations have strongly condemned genocide, called on International Criminal Court to investigate the crime. Palestinian Human Rights Organization Council on 14th November 2023 issued a detailed briefing note calling on the State of Palestine and third states to intervene, taking concrete measures and legal action to prevent genocide in Gaza. The report cautions that there have been significant warnings by United Nations independent human rights experts, as well as actions taken by third states, including the removal of their diplomatic missions from Israel, some in response to the ongoing Israeli genocidal statements and acts. Together, these warnings and states' actions put the international community of the states on notice that there is a very real risk that genocide is being and may be committed against Palestinians in Gaza. End of part 3. Facts. In the application instituting proceedings against genocide by Israel.